Hey guys, it's Double Wide 6, and today we're going to be making a little video on a motorcycle. One of my subscribers mentioned that he liked watching my channel and Musty One's channel, and he's like a small engine mechanic from Maine, and he works on all kinds of stuff: ATVs, snowmobiles, motorcycles, scooters, VW bugs. And I've seen his channel, and I never really watched his videos because a lot of his videos are like 30 minutes long. And I just started watching his videos and I really got hooked. And most importantly, I learned a lot of things just with his methodology of troubleshooting engines. And I'm going to recommend his channel. I'm going to put a link to his channel. And today's project, we're doing kind of a Musty One project. I got an old motorcycle. Here it is. It's a Yamaha 250. And on here it says torque induction. And this bike belongs to a guy that I work with, and he had it when he was a kid, and they'd drive it around on their farm, and now he's grown up and he has a couple kids of his own. And well, it's actually his brother. His brother's the one that contacted me because he has some kids of his own as well, and they want to get this thing running, so they dropped it off over here. And you know, normally I don't work on motorcycles, and that's because well, I don't know anything about them, and also it's a lot of bending over. I don't have a lift for a motorcycle, so I don't know. I've just, you know, I stay away from them. Plus, they're hard to buy because you need titles for them, and I don't know exactly what the process is if you buy something that doesn't have a title. But this bike, I've been selling lawnmowers here, and everyone that's been coming here has been talking about how this is like such a nice bike and it brings back memories and this and that. So yeah, it's a cool project. Everything is here except for the light, but the light is actually sitting over here on the table. I took it off because it was coming loose. I didn't want it to fall and break. And this thing has it says 25 miles. I'm looking at the wrong thing. 4,430 miles. The reason it's not running is just because they parked it, and I guess it's been sitting, you know, something like 20 years. So there wasn't like a problem with it, and it got parked. It just was sitting in their father's barn for 20 years. And the plate on here has a registration sticker of 78. And the last inspection, 77. That was a good year. That was the year I was born. So this is a nice vintage bike, and we're going to go through and we're going to use some of Musty One's tips, and we're just going to troubleshoot it and see what we find out. Two interesting things about the bike. If we take a look in here, you're going to see two spark plugs. The one on the left is just, there was a plug hole there that originally, from what I read online, it had a plastic plug in there. Okay, and the plastic plugs would get lost, and because the threads fit a spark plug, a lot of people put a second spark plug in the hole. So that's just like an extra spark plug. The other thing is, when my buddies dropped this thing off, the one said that it was a 2-stroke engine, the other one said it was a 4-stroke. So if we look over on the other side here, you could see where you add the oil. So there's a separate oil tank, but these, you know, high performance motorcycles, they're trying to get as much torque as possible, so they wanted to actually keep these engines two-stroke. And this one is a two-stroke, but it has that separate oil compartment. One of the things that you'll notice is that the engine has no valves. So it's a single cylinder engine with no valves, and there's no cam, and there's no chain going up to the cam. So it's a two-stroke engine. So I don't know, I just thought that stuff was interesting. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go musty one on this thing and check it out. So the first thing we're going to do is just pull the plug out and check for spark. And this plug back in here is the actual plug, at least it's not stuck in there. Looks alright. A little bit of carbon on it. Come on. There we go. Alright, so we don't have a battery, so I gotta kick this thing. I'm going to turn on the key and give it a kick. I know it's in neutral. Let's see if we have any spark. I didn't see anything. Just making sure it's hitting metal. Man, I wish I had a good way to hold that. Oh! Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw it, but there's definitely is spark, so that's good. Means we don't have to go look for the coil. And I don't know, maybe we'll I'm gonna actually put a little fuel right down in there and we'll see if this will fire. So we have spark. What I'm going to do is spray a little bit of fuel in that spark plug hole. Alright, just a shot of fuel. And then I'm going to go ahead and just finger tight that spark plug. Okay, so I shot a little fuel in there, and I changed the spark plug just with one that, for no other reason, but it looked newer. And what we're going to do is just try and kick this thing. I mean, I did look at the oil. There's definitely oil in there. And we'll just see if it fires. So I don't even know how to start it. I'm going to hold both these brakes. I know it's in neutral because it rolls. And we'll try and give it a kick. There we go. So, try again. It's definitely spark and compression. So, that means that we're going to take a look at the fuel system. So I took a look at the tank, and apparently they took the gas out of it. Because it's bone dry. The tank looks pretty good. I mean, considering the age. I don't know how well you can see it. Kind of looks like it has a varnish on there. So it's going to need to be cleaned before we introduce new fuel. And there's a fuel filter on here that looks pretty good. I mean, it looks really in good shape. You know, who knows? But it's the carburetor that we're going to be after here. So the plan's going to be to take the carburetor off. I think we want to try and run this bike on a different fuel system, a temporary tank, see if we can get it running. And then once we have it running, we'll clean this tank, replace the fuel lines and filter, and hopefully we have a running bike. So we have a plan. I'm looking at the carburetor, and there's two flange nuts that will pull off each side, and then this rubber intake boot, which goes up to the air filter. So we'll take that off. It's just one Phillips head screw right up here. It's a little hard to see. And then up top coming in here is actually I think it's the throttle. So it's kind of looks like a mustard bottle. We'll just loosen that up by hand, and I'm gonna try and pull this carburetor out. Oh, and we'll have to loosen up that fuel line. So the fuel line here's rock solid, and I've got these hose puller pliers, and it's all about having the right tool for the job. And I'm just going to get in here and try and twist this once again. Working on a motorcycle, very tight area. This little hose here, this is like an overflow hose, so I'm going to take a piece of like chainsaw fuel line and replace that. And that was just going down here. There's like a lip behind the crankcase. Sorry about that. There's a lip down here, so we're going to tuck that in. And the throttle isn't too tight, so we're just going to unscrew that. And I think all we got to do now is just take out those bolts. Sometimes there's a spring in these throttles. Yep. So I just pull all this out. There's a needle on the bottom of it. Looks pretty good. Alright, so now we're going to get in there and pull the carb. The carb's out. It's a Mikuni made in Japan. And here's where the fuel line tied in. This is like an overflow line. I noticed on the bottom there's a nipple with no fuel line. I think that, well, I was thinking that was for draining the bowl, but that's what that one, well, maybe that's part of the main jet. I don't know if that's a drain or not. I really don't know anything about this carb. Yeah, I don't know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and just make some notes on the turns on the big screw here and the little screw. One of them's high adjustment, one of them's idle. And then we're going to start disassembly. We'll clean this. And then we're going to try and run the bike on a auxiliary gas tank. I took out the 4 screws on here, and now I should be able to remove the bowl. Hopefully I don't wreck the gasket here. There we go. man, this looks great. They really drain the fuel out of here. But I want to go through and clean anything because, you know, it's been a long time. I want to make sure everything's all set. So we'll take a close look at this thing. So on the bowl, you have these two floats, and there's these needles, and I don't know if they're locked in here or if they come loose, but this looks pretty clean. There's a little bit of varnishing down here, and these floats, they just move up and down on here. And what they'll do is they'll hit against this, and this is the lever for the needle. And there's a jet here that we're going to take out, and I like the way they have this hex head here so I can actually get at it instead of like taking a screwdriver and going down in there like you have to with the Honda carbs. And out of here, now I wasn't sure if this was just a drain screw or what, but there is a fixed jet in there, and once again they have a hex head on that. So I'm going to pull that out. This looks to be in good shape, but you know, we have it apart. We're going to clean it all and put it back together. So that's where we're at right now. So the only other thing that was hard to find, there was a little jet in this hole that appeared to be plugged a little bit, so I was able to get that out. These things aren't in there that hard, which is nice. They're not like cranked down. The only other thing I'm debating if I should take apart is this. I don't know if I don't know what it is. You know, is it a choke or not? I don't know. Maybe in the comments you guys can let me know. I'm sure you know what it is, but it is moving, and I don't quite have a wrench that's going to fit in here. So let me think about what I want to do there. Alright guys, sounds like my clock's going, but this thing here goes all the way through. It's some sort of drain line, but there was no hose connected to it. It was all clogged up, and I was able to break through that. So I think what I'm going to do here is call it a night, and I'm going to soak this stuff in my ultrasonic cleaner and come back in a day or so, and we'll try and reassemble that. And so next time I'm back here, that's what we'll be doing. Alright, take care. It's the next morning here, and I wound up taking off this lever because I had this soaking in the ultrasonic cleaner overnight. It got nice and clean, and I already started putting back in some of the jets and that type of stuff, but I decided to take off that lever, so I got that off, and now I'm just kind of assembling the carb, or reassembling I should say. So I'm going to continue on this and try and get it back together. Almost have it back together. Something I wanted to point out, this is actually the needle, and the top of it is actually spring loaded. So there's a spring inside the needle that pushes this little tip. This is in good working condition, but if you're working on one of these, it's something to look at. Usually I see the needle, the top of the needle just you know, connected to the needle and doesn't move, but this one needs to move. Another thing I wanted to point out is that the gaskets and the overall condition of this carburetor is very good, and the reason being is they drained the fuel out of it, and that really kept the carb in good shape. Also, I think the last time this thing had fuel in it, it was when fuel didn't have ethanol in it, and that makes like such a difference. So we're just about done here. Just going to get this buttoned up. I got the carburetor back on the unit. Really, you know, kind of a tight fit. I had a little trouble maneuvering it, but definitely the hardest part is getting that throttle in there and threading that on right. There's kind of like, it's like inserting a cork into a bottle, but there's a little notch in the back that it needs to slide into that you need to be careful of. But that went in pretty well, and it just took a little while to get the cap threaded right because there's pressure from the cable. The problem here is I don't trust the tank. I don't know. I looked in it with a flashlight, and you know, it's not all covered in rust, but it looks, you know, a little gooey, and I don't want to contaminate the carburetor. I did not change the fuel filter. I just took the fuel filter off the machine that was on there. I blew through it. It seemed good. So what I want to do is I want to run an auxiliary tank. So that's what I've set up here. So on the back I have my test tank, and I have that actually strapped in, so perhaps I can go for a ride, maybe. And you know, this is, I use this, and it has a little fuel shut off, came off a little snow blower. So the plan is we're going to try and crank this thing, and we'll see if it'll fire. Well, I haven't tried to start it yet because I've been screwing around with the oil. I put in the 2-cycle gas here. I'm not sure of the mix. I got about a, you know, a 40-to-1 mixture there. And this is an oil reservoir which fills up this green tank here. And I don't know if that's used to cool off the crankcase or what. But down here on the other side, there's another oil dipstick. The one up top is full. And this one down here says 1,000 cc's of oil. I don't know what type of oil. And I can see oil down in the bottom, but it's not registering on the dipstick. So I'm going to look this up on the internet, and then I'll come back and try and start this. So here's my thought on this now. I didn't look it up yet, but now I'm thinking this might be, it says motor oil there, that might be 2-cycle oil, and then the other tank down on this side might be you know, gear oil, and then maybe you're supposed to be putting straight gas in here. I really don't know. I got to figure this thing out before I go and run it. I'm back. Well, I went on the internet, took a little look, and it sounds like what this oil tank's supposed to do is feed 2-cycle oil. So if everything's working, you could put regular gas in the tank and it'll mix in the carburetor. Now, when I cleaned the carburetor, there was a nipple on the bottom with no hose, and I'm thinking it's supposed to be connected up to this tank. Coming out of this 2-cycle tank, a hose goes down here and it's all chewed up, like it might be broken off as it hit the chain. But I don't know if that's, you know, it's going to drip a little oil on the chain or what, or if that's supposed to go and connect to the carburetor. Regardless, this thing should run on 2-cycle fuel. So I have a mix of 40-to-1, and I'm going to try and fire it. Now, it might not run right because that nipple's open on the bottom of the carb. All right. guys, we got it running. It's not running perfect, so we need a little bit of adjustment on the carburetor. I'm still running on the auxiliary tank, and we're going to go through and flush this tank and hook up a fuel line, new fuel filter, and that has nothing. So I don't know if this top nipple is supposed to have the oil connected up here or what the deal is. So if any of you guys out there know, let me know down there in the comments. Also let me know in the comments what you think of this type of video. You know, I usually don't work on motorcycles, and it was kind of a pain just because I'm not used to it, but so far it seems to be pretty successful. Anyhow, I'm Double Wide 6, and have a great day. Thanks for watching. We'll put some links down in the description for you.